Have you ever noticed how, when we're doing something complicated, it sometimes feels like we've seen a better way to do it before? It could be something simple, like assembling furniture or even choosing a dish at a restaurant. What if I told you that? In software development, there are also proven and efficient ways to solve design problems that crop up frequently. These ways are called design patterns. But what exactly are these patterns? Well, they are tested, reusable solutions to common problems that arise when we are creating software. And just as you would use a map to get somewhere faster, these patterns help developers achieve a good design without having to reinvent the wheel every time. Now, I'm going to tell you a very cool story. Back in the 90s, 4 guys named Erich Gamma, Richard Helm, Ralph Johnson, and John Vlissides were in a research group trying to solve software design problems. These 4 became known as the Gang of 4. They wrote a book called Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Software in 1994, where they cataloged 23 design patterns. These patterns help standardize the way design problems in software are solved, like a recipe book for programmers. For instance, instead of creating a new way to organize code every single time, developers began to apply the solutions the 4 authors had written. The book became famous for making the software development process simpler and more organized, in addition to creating a common language among programmers worldwide. Now, you must be asking yourself, why would I use these patterns? Can't I just solve the problem my own way? The answer is yes, you can. But there are a few reasons why using patterns can be a great choice. First, it saves time and effort. When you already have a tested and proven solution, you won't need to spend hours thinking about how to solve a problem that others have already solved before. Second, it improves communication. If everyone in the team uses the same patterns, it becomes easier to talk about the code. Instead of explaining how a piece of code works, you can just say, this is an observer. So when something changes, everyone will be automatically notified. Finally, it keeps the code cleaner and more organized, making system maintenance easier over time. When the system grows, it's much easier to understand and modify the code if it follows a design pattern. Now, I want to tell you something very important for anyone starting to learn about software development. If you want to become a true programmer, someone who creates systems for companies or products that are sold, you need to know design patterns. Why? Because every commercial system, the kind of system that will be sold to other companies or people, uses at least a dozen design patterns. That is a fact. Whether it's a sales system, inventory management, or even a banking system, these commercial systems always use design patterns to ensure the code is more efficient, easy to maintain, and scalable. I'll give you a simple example. If you were creating a sales system, you would have to organize various parts of that system, such as product registration, payment processing, and invoice, to make the system flexible, modifiable, and easy to expand. You would likely use patterns like factory, strategy, and observer. These patterns help separate the system's parts, making it more modular and easy to adapt as the company grows or changes its needs. So, whether you are just starting out or are already in the market, knowing how to use design patterns is a huge advantage. They are not just a trend or something you use because it's taught in software schools. They are fundamental for developing robust commercial systems that are ready for the future. Now, let's look at some examples of patterns that are used all the time in software. I'll explain them very simply, with everyday examples, to make them crystal clear. Factory. Imagine you go to a bakery and ask for bread. You don't care about the type of flour or the oven they used. You just want the finished bread. In the factory pattern, the bakery is the factory, and it handles how to make the bread. You just request the bread, and the factory takes care of the rest. In software, this pattern is used to create objects without you needing to know how they are created. Strategy. Let's say you are learning to tie your shoelace. There are several ways to do it. A simple knot, a double knot, or that pirate style. Each of these forms is a strategy. The strategy pattern works like this. Instead of having a single way to do something, you can switch the strategy during the program, depending on what is necessary. Observer. Imagine the school bell rings, and all the students know it's time to leave. In the observer pattern, one thing like the bell notifies several other things, the students. Whenever something changes, the observer is automatically notified. This pattern is widely used in systems that need to send notifications or alerts. Facade. When you go to the bank, It can be complicated. You have to talk to several people and fill out a bunch of forms. Now, imagine the bank creates a single counter where you can resolve everything in one place. The facade pattern does this. It creates a simplified interface for a complex system. Instead of dealing with multiple parts of a system, you have a single interface to interact with. Decorator. Imagine you have ice cream and decide to add chocolate syrup, sprinkles, and strawberry topping. The decorator pattern allows you to add new behaviors to an object flexibly, without needing to change its base. The ice cream remains ice cream, but now with more layers and more flavor. Now that you know some patterns, you must be asking yourself, when should I use them? The answer is simple. Use design patterns when they solve a real problem and help your code be cleaner and easier to understand. But be careful with over-engineering, which is when you complicate a simple solution too much just because you want to use many patterns. In some cases, it's not worth it. Use patterns wisely to avoid creating a solution more complex than necessary. Although design patterns like those from the Gang of Four are very useful, the world of software development is constantly evolving. Today, new architectures and approaches are being used, such as microservices, agile development, and event-driven design. Even so, design patterns remain fundamental to ensuring that code is well-structured and easy to understand. These patterns are still taught in many universities and are used by companies all over the world to create reliable and scalable software. The important thing is knowing when to use them and how to adapt them to the needs of your project. Now, you know a little more about design patterns and the Gang of Four who helped popularize these ideas. If you are a beginner, don't worry. You can start learning and using these patterns gradually as you gain a better understanding of software development. They are a great way to improve the quality of your code and facilitate teamwork. Ultimately, the goal of design patterns is always the same: to make software development more efficient and less painful. If you liked this video and learned something new, don't forget to leave your like and share. Comment below on which pattern you think you'll use first. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next videos.